Leila Kaya dipped the tail of her sable brush into a bowl of emerald ink and coaxed the letter Ein into life. The character curved across the cream-coloured paper like a stretching cat, finishing the final line of a commission for a German couple who wanted a verse of rumour to hang over their dining room table. When the ink glistened to stillness, she breathed in the familiar perfumed air of the Musa Çarşısı, Istanbul's spice bazaar, cinnamon, cumin, roasting chestnuts, and a flirtatious hint of rosewater that forever drifted from the confectioner 2 stalls down. Outside the narrow doorway of her studio stall, shoppers bargained over threaded strands of dried peppers, and a mackerel-coloured street cat named Kasım lounged atop burlap sacks of pistachios as though he owned the Ottoman Empire. In Leila's corner, the world was gentler. Vellum, silk cords, and golden flecks of ink caught in her raven hair. A small hand-lettered sign read, Leila Kaya, Husni Hat and Illuminations. She added in English, traditional calligraphy, custom poems, ship worldwide. A knock on the doorframe interrupted her tidying. It was Yusuf Demir, the lanky, soft-spoken apprentice from the stall across the aisle. Yusuf specialized in marbled stationery and frequently borrowed Leila's burnishing stone. Ablam, he said, lowering his voice. This was delivered for you with the morning tea trays. He passed her a scroll tied with an ordinary jute cord. No customer name, no shipping slip, only a tiny ink stamp shaped like a tulip, a motif she often used herself. Leila frowned. She unrolled it carefully, half expecting an empty sheet. Instead, she found a poem in neat Nastaliq script. Beneath the saffron sleeps the ancient king, his crown ferried on rust-red water. Follow the pomegranate seeds. They mark the path until the stone lion drinks dawn's first light. The poem was signed only Ses. Leila turned it over. There was no request for price, no return address. The handwriting was flawless but unfamiliar. Most unsettling of all, the scroll wasn't blank parchment. It was one of her own decorative backings, a hand-gilded border of interlocking carnations she had completed weeks earlier and stored in a locked cabinet. How in the world did this leave my stall? She murmured. Yusuf shrugged. Maybe a mix-up at the framers? Leila shook her head. Nothing left her studio without her inscription and seal, and this border lacked both. Someone had stolen the sheet, completed a poem on it, then smuggled it back to her. But why? Poetry occasionally found its way into Istanbul politics, yet the verses here sounded less ideological than clandestine. A riddle. When the lunchtime adhan unfurled from the minaret of Ristam Pasha Mosque, Leila tucked the scroll into a bamboo case and locked her stall. She crossed the mosaic-paved passage to Selim's spice heaven, where her oldest friend, Mehmet Selim, doled out sumac and stories with equal generosity. Mehmet, broad-shouldered, moustached, wearing an apron dusted with red pepper, looked up from weighing Iranian saffron. Leila, you're scowling like someone mislabeled marjoram as mint. Tea? She accepted the tulip-shaped glass. Have a look at this. Setting the scroll on the counter, she explained its mysterious arrival. Mehmet's expressive eyebrows knit together. Beneath the saffron sleeps the ancient king. Could be poetic nonsense. Unless... He lowered his voice. You heard the rumour about the bust of King Antiochus stolen from Nemrut Dar last month? Vanished like smoke. Leila had indeed read whispers in Cumhuriyet. The artifact, 2nd century limestone, had disappeared en route to a provincial museum. Saffron shipments, Mehmet continued, come through the bazaar daily. A clever smuggler might hide something small in a tin, but a bust, impossible. Still, he stared at his saffron jars, as if seeing them anew. Leila rolled the poem. Maybe you're right, maybe it's coincidence. But whoever slipped this inside my own work wanted me to read it. Mehmet tapped the counter twice, their childhood code for, "We'll think on it." Leila left, but unease hummed in her chest like a trapped bee. That evening she spread the poem on her apartment's Ottoman-style divan, turning it beneath a desk lamp. Each line felt like layered calligraphy, meaning stacked upon meaning. Stone lion, dawn's first light. The phrase triggered a memory. A pair of weather-worn lion statues flanking the eastern gate of the Theodosia cistern, hidden a few streets from the bazaar. Ottoman engineers had rerouted cisterns over the centuries, and the subterranean complexes were favourite playgrounds of Leila's when she was a girl. She fetched a city map. East of the bazaar, the Theodosia cistern slumbered beneath a quiet cobbled square, lined with pomegranate trees. Follow the pomegranate seeds. Leila's breath quickened. Subterranean Istanbul was riddled with nooks perfect for contraband. If someone had used her calligraphy sheet to encode directions to a drop site, was she now complicit? Storm clouds bruise nothing by themselves, her grandmother used to say. You must find the lightning. Leila resolved to seek the lightning. The next morning she arrived at her stall early. Her security shutter had been lowered properly the night before, but now the padlock hung unclasped. Inside nothing looked ransacked, brushes aligned, pigments capped. Yet perched on her drafting table was another scroll. This one displayed different verses. The janissary drums still echo. Carry the crown by night, hide it in the lion's throat. Come sunset, the tulip will bloom. Leila's fingers tingled. Whoever delivered it had no fear of locks. And again, the tulip. Below the poem was a tiny symbol, a crescent boat. She photographed the scroll with her phone and folded it away. Then she marched to the small police kiosk near the bazaar's fish gate. Inspector Leila Aydin, a middle-aged officer with a silver streak in her hair, listened attentively. "You wish to file a burglary report?" Aylin asked. "Yes, but more. I believe these verses might reference antiquities theft." Leila explained the saffron, the lion statues, the missing bust. Aylin worried the chain of her badge. "We have an open inquiry on that Nemrut Dar piece. No solid leads. May I keep the scrolls?" Leila hesitated. "I'd prefer copies suffice." The inspector agreed, scanning them into a laptop. "If anything else occurs, call me." Back in the bazaar, Leila felt both lighter and strangely exposed. She stationed Qasim the cat by the door as an honorary guard and forced herself to work on a customer's wedding certificate. Her brush, however, lacked its usual steadiness. Around 4, Mehmet slipped inside carrying 2 steaming cups of salep. "I did some digging," he whispered. "One of my exporters, Shahin Karga, was asking odd questions about freight weights for saffron tins. He claimed his European clients demanded extra metal canisters. That poem of yours gave me gooseflesh." Leila sipped the thick orchid root drink. "Shahin uses which shipping company?" "Levant Star Cargo. Their warehouse abuts the old cistern square." They exchanged a glance. "Let's look after closing," Mehmet suggested. At sunset, apricot light ignited the bazaar's stained glass. Leila packed her brushes, tucked Qasim beneath a crocheted blanket, and met Mehmet at the fish gate. The streets thinned as shopkeepers shuttered stalls, singing snatches of Holk Musee. The Theodosia cistern entrance had been turned into a modest museum, but a side grate, once used to roll in maintenance equipment, sat padlocked. Mehmet produced thin wire and, to Leila's surprise, picked the lock with brisk elegance. "What?" he muttered at her raised eyebrows. "Stall doors stick sometimes." They descended a spiral metal stair that smelled of damp limestone. Phone flashlights swept across vaulted arches that cradled darkness. The lion statues, their maws chipped by centuries of moisture, stood guard at the far end. Leila approached, heart hammering. She remembered the poem, "Hide it in the lion's throat." She flashed light into one lion's gaping mouth. Stone teeth, nothing else. The second lion, however, held a rectangular cavity big enough for a loaf of bread. Inside lay a steel box the size of a dictionary. Mehmet whistled. Lightning found. Leila's palms sweated. "We should contact Inspector Aydin from here." But footsteps clapped on the stair above. Lights flicked on, harsh and fluorescent. Leila squinted as 3 men in navy coveralls descended. Leading them was a man she recognized from occasional bizarre strolls, Sinan Saraf, a dapper antiques dealer whose shop specialized in Ottoman miniatures. "Ah, the talented Ms. Kaya," Sinan's voice echoed, suave and chilly. "I feared you might connect the dots." Mehmet stepped forward. "What dots? We're just touring." Sinan smirked. "Then you won't mind leaving empty-handed." He gestured, and the coverall men produced box cutters. Leila clutched the steel container. "You used my calligraphy," she said, adrenaline lending sharpness to her words. "Your borders were exquisite hiding places," Sinan replied. "Tourists buy them, couriers transport them, customs notices nothing. My associate Shahin slipped your sheets out during framing. We inscribed directions for colleagues abroad. Unfortunately, you proved curious." Leila tilted her chin. "And the bust of Antiochus?" "Packed in a crate of Persian saffron already en route to Marseille." He said it lightly, as though announcing a cafe menu. One thug lunged. Mehmet hurled his thermos, striking the man's forehead. The thug stumbled, swearing. Leila used the moment to run. But instead of fleeing up the stairs toward Sinan's remaining men, she darted between columns, hugging the shadows. She knew the cistern's hidden maintenance ladder that led to a grated street vent. It had been her secret escape route as a teenager. Mehmet followed. The men's footsteps clanged behind. A rusted ladder rose 30 feet beside a weeping stone wall. Leila climbed, steel box slung over her shoulder. Halfway up, a hand seized her ankle. She kicked, connecting with someone's cheek. A curse ricocheted. Mehmet, below her, wrenched the thug's collar, buying a breath. Leila scaled the last rungs and shoved at the street grate. It groaned open onto the deserted pomegranate square. She and Mehmet hauled themselves out, slammed the grate, and jammed a broken brick between bars. Sinan's shout echoed below. Leila pulled out her phone with shaking fingers and speed-dialed Inspector Aylin. "Cistern off Sherifea Street," she gasped. "Antiquities theft in progress. Hurry." Within minutes, sirens approached, red and blue washing the square. Police vans disgorged officers who pried open the maintenance hatch. Sinan and his men, cornered in the cistern, surrendered among echoing curses. Aylin emerged, hair wind-tossed, her lips thin. She collected the steel box from Leila, snapped the combination lock with bolt cutters, and whistled. Nestled in foam was the limestone head of King Antiochus, serene and dusty. "Well," she said, "this will make tomorrow's front page." She patted Leila's shoulder. "You two are lucky to be alive." "Luck flavoured with salep," Mehmet muttered. They gave statements till dawn threatened. Aylin promised commendations, though Leila insisted credit be shared with Mehmet and with Qasim for moral support. 3 mornings later, The spice bazaar hummed as usual, as though crimes and kings had never tangled beneath it. Leila sipped cardamom tea while glancing at a new newspaper headline: Cistern caper foiled, bazaar heroes praised. Customers trickled to her stall, praising her bravery. Yet Leila focused on retouching the gilded border of a fresh commission. An official commendation for the Ministry of Culture meant to hang in the recovered artifacts wing. As she worked, a shadow crossed her threshold. Inspector Aydin entered, holding a small package. "I thought you'd like this." Wrapped in brown paper lay the first mysterious poem, now sealed inside an archival sleeve. Leila smiled. A souvenir of adventure. Evidence no longer since Sinan confessed. Aylin pointed at the signature line, S. "If ever more tulips bloom, you know where to find me." After the inspector left, Leila pinned the poem above her desk. The inked lines no longer felt ominous, but reminded her how words like spices hold secret properties, able to stir hearts, map labyrinths, and unmask thieves. Outside, Qasim leapt onto a stack of scroll tubes, blinking his copper eyes. Leila stroked his back. "Back to work, my friend. The bazaar needs beautiful letters, not cryptic riddles." Still, she left a corner of her drafting table clear, just in case another tulip-stamped scroll ever drifted in on the warm, cinnamon-scented air of Istanbul.